Hey guys, welcome to a Rec Room tutorial video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a working NPC that does not take out a lot of ink as well. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so to make the NPC, you're going to need a maker pen. You grab out your maker pen, and then you go to Open Palette. So then what you want to do is you go to Gadgets, and let's start off by placing down the trigger volumes that we're going to need. So you go to Other Gadgets, second page, and grab a trigger volume. You place it down, just like this, and make sure to have grid on so that everything is perfect and straight. So it should look like this. And then what you want to do is click configure on your maker pen and configure all of them to keep track of objects. There we go. And then you want to manipulate all of them just like this. So it should look something like this. Alright, so next what you guys want to do is you want to go to Open Palette, Gizmos, and grab a Look at Gizmo. And then you want to place that Look at Gizmo right in the middle of all these trigger volumes. There you go. So once you're done, you should have something that looks like this. 4 trigger volumes and 1 Look at Gizmo in the middle. Okay, what you guys want to do next is you want to make a small cube or sphere or whatever you want in the right on top of the Look at Gizmo, and then you want to wire it to the tip of the Look at Gizmo. So it should be wired. So once you have your cube, just because when you're making an NPC and you don't want the cube to be just roaming around, make sure to scale it down just about that size. And then you want to click configure on your maker pen, configure the cube, and then click on edit tags, and you want to add a tag to it. So I'm just going to add a tag of cube. Okay, so once you guys are done, you want to configure the trigger volumes, and you want to modify the filter by tag, and you want to type in the same word or number that you put in your cube. So I put mine as cube. And then you want to do the same for every single trigger volume. Okay, so once you guys are done with adding tags to the trigger volumes and the cube, then you want to turn grid off, and you want to manipulate the trigger volume, just like so. Make sure that it's not touching the cube, and do the same for every single trigger volume. There we go. Okay, so once you guys are done with manipulating the trigger volumes, you want to go to Open Palette, Gizmos, and choose pistons. And then what you want to do is place 4 of them right in the center. Well, you can choose wherever you want to put them, but I'd recommend putting them in the center so you actually know what you're doing. So just like so, and it should look something like this. Okay, then what you want to do is you want to select all the trigger volumes. So you go to Make Pen and click Select. Select all the trigger volumes, and then you want to wire them to the tip of any piston that you want. So I'm just going to choose this one, and all of them should be connected. Oh, and don't forget to wire the Look at Gizmo as well, the body of the Look at Gizmo to the piston. So once that is done, you should have all the trigger volumes and the Look at Gizmo wired to the tip of a piston, but make sure that the cube is not wired to the piston. It should be wired to the Look at Gizmo. Okay, so once you're done, you want to wire the body of the piston that is wired to everything. You want to wire the body to the tip of the other piston, and wire the body of that piston to the tip of the other one, and then that one to the tip of the other one. But make sure that you don't make a loop. So this one shouldn't be connected to this one. You should stop right there. So you should have a line here, here, and here, but not here. Okay, so once you're done wiring all the pistons together, you want to go to Open Palette, Gadgets, Math Chips, and choose the combinator chip. So you want to place the combinator chip down. I'd recommend placing it in front of every piston, just to make sure that you know what you're wiring the combinator chip to. So once you have all 4 combinator chips, you want to configure them. You click configure on your maker pen, configure the combinator chip, and turn it into multiplication sign, which is this one. So you want to do the same for every single combinator. And you should have something looking like this. So once you're done, you can use a variable chip for this, or you can just configure them. So I'm just going to use a variable chip. So you want to go to Open Palette, Gadgets, Math Chips, and choose the variable chip. You want to place that anywhere around the world. It doesn't really matter because it's just a variable chip. And you want to configure it. You can choose R signal, G signal, or B signal, whichever you want. But the R signal is this red pin, and the G signal is this green pin, and the B signal is this blue pin. So I'm just going to choose R signal because that's what I normally choose. So let's say I wanted to go to about same player's speed, and I'd say that's about 250 or 200. I'm just going to pick 200. So once you have your R signal or G or B signal, whichever you have chosen, set to the value that you want. You want to select all the combinator chips, and then you want to wire the green pin to the R signal, or whichever signal you have. And it should look something like this. Okay, so once you've wired all your combinator chips together to the variable chip, you are going to start wiring the trigger volumes to the combinator chips and the combinator chips to the pistons. So I'm going to be using this piston, this combinator, and this trigger volume. So you want to wire total currently in zone to the red pin. And then you want to wire the red output to the red input of the piston and the green input as well. So it should look something like this. And you want to do the same for every single piston. And you should have something looking like this. Okay, so once you're done wiring all your combinator chips together and the pistons and trigger volumes, now let's say you wanted to follow, I'm gonna make it follow a cube and players. So I'm gonna start by making it follow a cube. So you go to Open Palette, Shapes, and you can spawn in any invention that you want, but I'm just gonna make a simple cube for now. And then you wanna add a tag to that cube, but make sure that it's not the same tag as the one that is wired to the look at gizmo. So I'm gonna name this one cube 1. So that one has cube, but I have cube 1. So once you're done adding a tag to this cube, or whichever invention that you have, or make pin object, you want to go over to the look at gizmo, and you want to configure the look at gizmo by choosing configure on your make pen and clicking on the look at gizmo. And then you want to set the target type to object if you want it to follow an object. If you want it to follow a player, you're going to have to wait for later on in the video. I'm going to explain that. So you modify the tag to follow and add the same tag as you added in your invention or the cube that I made. So mine is cube 1. And if you have more than one cube or more than one invention, you want to set it to closest. So it's gonna look at the closest object that has the tag of cube 1. So once you've got that done, make sure to turn off gizmos not to mess up the NPC, and then you can use the same variable chip that you have. You want to click wire on your make pen, and you want to wire whichever signal that you have that has the same value as the ones that is wired to the combinator chip. Wire it to the red input of the look at gizmo, which is the on and off. So that will turn it on. So once you've got that done, you want to configure the pistons. This part is optional. So if you're just making a test NPC, you want to configure all the pistons and just set the max travel distance to 999. There you go. So once that is done, let me just make that cube grabbable. So once I turn on gizmos, this NPC should follow the cube without any bugs. And there you go. You have yourself a working follow NPC. So it's going to follow the cube wherever it goes. And if I stop gizmos and have more than one cube, and then play gizmos again, it's going to look at the closest one. So this is the closest to it, but if I move this up, it's going to follow this one because this is the closest to it. And yeah. So that's how you make an NPC that follows a cube or an object. Okay, now you're probably wondering how to make the NPC follow players. This step is easy. All you're going to need to do is go to Open Palette, Gadgets, Game Chips, second page, and choose a roll chip. And then you want to spawn that down. And then you want to configure the roll chip and change the name. So I'm going to change mine to players. There we go. You don't have to edit the roll. This is just optional to make it so that you can have like walk speed, jump height, and stuff, and fly. But we're not gonna be using those this time. Okay, so once you have the roll chip down, you want to go to your watch, this room, settings, permissions, and you want to go to the settings for everyone, and then MISC, and make sure to enable auto-assigned game roles. Then you want to edit. You want to click on edit, add role, and you want to put the name of the roll chip that you spawned. So in this case, mine is players. And once you have that, you click done, and then it should say players right next to the box. So once that is done, now you want to click configure on your Meek pen, configure the lookout gizmo, and change the target type to player. And then you want to choose the role that you have. In this case, mine is players. And you can make it track head, hands, left hand, or right hand. So you can choose, but I normally use head. And then you go to the second page and make it track closest. I already have that enabled. So once that is done, when I turn on Gizmos, it should follow me. There we go. So that is how you make a basic NPC that follows objects and players. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, how do I make it kill players? That is very simple as well. All you have to do is open your palette, go to Gadgets, Other Gadgets, second page, and grab a trigger volume. But this time, you want to have it set to players and not objects, so it should be purple. Once you have the trigger volume down, you click manipulate, and you want to manipulate it to be just bigger than the trigger volume, than your NPC. Or if you have a custom AI that you have, just make it about the same size as the AI. So mine looks like this. It's just a bit bigger than my NPC itself, just because I don't have an AI. But if I do have an AI, I would have made it about the same size as the AI. Once you've manipulated your trigger volume, you want to wire the trigger volume to the tip of the piston that is wired to everything. In this case, mine is this one. And then you want to open your palette, go to Gadgets, Other Gadgets, second page, and grab a respawn point. So you want that respawn point to be anywhere in the map. That's optional. But make sure to set it to manual, just in case if the game starts, you don't spawn at the same place that you're going to spawn in when you die. So once you have your respawn point, you want to wire spawn player here now to when entering zone. That will get the player ID and spawn it in, and spawn the player on the respawn point. So if I test this out, play Gizmos, and it should follow me, and if it catches me, I die. And that is how you make a very simple NPC that follows objects and players and can kill players. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe and like the video, and make sure to comment down below if you have any questions on how to do something in Rec Room. And add me in Rec Room. This is my name, my @name, but with a capital I at the end because the normal one was taken. And my username is with a normal L at the end. And this is my profile picture that will never be changed. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this one. See ya.